morning and welcome to the NBA Daily presented by Amazon Prime for February 19th, 2026. I'm Dave DuFour here with Zena Keita and Jon Krawczynski. Coming up, we go deep on the Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards, why he might win MVP. Good morning, everybody. Hey, Zena, Jon Krawczynski's here in the house. I'm making him work on what should be a day off. I mean, this guy is one of the hardest working guys in the NBA. Jon, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm just glad that you guys let me back on here. You guys are Amazon Prime stars. I see you on my TV, and so that you haven't forgot about me, on your rise to the top.
I'm just hanging on Zena's coattails. I'm just trying to catch. I'm riding in her little draft. Shout out to Michael Jordan, by the way, winning the Daytona 500. Pretty amazing.
Casually.
Yeah, he had a pretty good weekend. You know who else had a great weekend? NBA All-Star MVP Anthony Edwards. How about this? This guy and Victor Wembanyama really set the tone for the All-Star game from a competitive standpoint, literally from the opening tip. I texted with our group chat with Zena and S and Andrew Schlecht, and I said, guys, I think Anthony Edwards is lining up for the jump ball with Victor Wembanyama. And this was, I think, before they showed it on camera. And he was kind of like making the joke, like, oh, I'm going to jump. And he did. This guy is built different than what we're used to right now.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, guys, I was surprised to see him play that hard because I had been at his other All-Star appearances, and you could tell he was one of the guys who just wasn't really wrapped up in the whole competitive juices part of that event. He really looked at All-Star Weekend as this kind of celebration. You get people together, you have a fun time, you party a little bit, and you hang out, and you kind of really advertise and grow the game. But as far as the game itself, he had never really shown a big kind of willingness to really get after it. But I do think, to your point, Dave, that there was that clip right before the game where Wemby was in the back and they were getting ready to take the floor, and he said, I'm guarding you. And you could see Ant look at him and be like, all right, you want this? Let's go. And I do think that really did just that one-on-one personal challenge really kind of appealed to Ant's kind of, base nature. And so that performance from start to finish was not something that we had seen from Anthony Edwards before. And I think it's important. He is one of the young guys that is going to carry this thing forward. And so he has to be one of the guys who is engaged. And when he is engaged, it's quite a show. And he put one on in that weekend. I
knew he was having fun because in the interview, I don't know if I've ever heard him sound that Georgian. I mean, he was like, that was Atlanta, deep Atlanta. He was talking fast. I mean, I knew he was having a good time when I heard him talking.
Yeah, I think that. Go ahead, Zia.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm going to give credit to Zora Stevenson for tapping in. She's also North Carolina girl. Fair. I think she made him feel comfortable. But yeah, go ahead, Jon.
Yeah, for sure. But I do think that he got a charge out of having that trophy in his hands, kind of some of the attention coming his way, what it meant in the grand scheme of things when you have the Kobe Bryant trophy in your hands. That means a lot. He is a guy who reveres Kobe like so many others do. And I think that the response that came his way, he has said that he doesn't want to be the face of the NBA because of all of the sort of things that are pulling at you. And I believe he's genuine in that. But when he was in the middle of it, when he was, getting everyone congratulating him, when all of his peers were sort of looking at him as the man, I do think that, something inside of him was like, you know what, this is pretty darn cool. And so I think that he definitely got a bigger boost and charge out of it than he really even thought was capable of happening. And so that's all just a very, very good thing for the next 5, 8, 10 years of this league and of that event, is that if you get guys like him that buy into this and that want to give an effort, and he is so genuinely charismatic. Like, all you have to do is get him feeling good and put a microphone in his face, and he will entertain you, as long to the day ends. Like, it's natural charisma. He is such a showman that way. And so when he's at ease and expressing himself that way, and dropping his little anecdotes and things like that, I mean, it's really funny, it's really engaging, and it's really good for the league.
But I think we got to talk a little bit about what fires that up, because Dave, you alluded to this, and Jon, you just laid it out. Anthony Edwards historically has been one of the guys that is more casual at the All-Star game. And in every single interview that he gave throughout the course of the game, and including his MVP conversation, like the reference to Wemby, the reference to Wemby upping the bar, setting the standard, upping the level of competition, I think put a fire under him. And I'm sure he remembers that France game from the Olympics, and feeling good about being able to beat them, and knowing how seriously Wemby was taking it, felt like it immediately mirrored onto the rest of the team, or the other players playing. Now it's a wonder of, what is it going to take to get that same fire for the regular season? And interestingly enough, another tall Frenchman might be the one to do it. We saw Rudy Gobert talk about the lack of effort from this Timberwolves team. And you look at Anthony Edwards' stats over the last 10 games, like he's averaging almost 30 points on the season, doing pretty well, doing what he can to contribute to his team. But what is it going to take to light a fire under Anthony Edwards and the crew, for how they're playing during the regular season?
Yeah, Zena, I do think that one of the things that Ant has had to kind of learn about being a true face of the franchise is how much is demanded on a night in and night out basis. You do see the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders of the world, the LeBrons, the Jokic's, and how consistent they are in their effort most nights. Everyone has an off night here or there, just doesn't have it. But I think that one of Anthony's issues is that he kind of looks at the schedule, he looks at the opponent and the record and things of that nature, and there are moments that he looks to relax, and mostly it's on the defensive end. Certainly there is some offensive things that come and go, but largely he's been fantastic offensively all year long. But the thing that makes Anthony Edwards really special, that makes him approach a top 5 player in the league and puts him in the MVP conversation, if you want to have that, is his ability to be dominant on both ends. And that waxes and wanes defensively.
Yeah.
But you see it in big moments, Jon.
You do.
I mean, you 100%. Always do. This is the thing about him and that team, is that against the big opponents, you don't worry about them not showing up. Right. I think often about the end of that win against the Oklahoma City Thunder, where Ant seals the deal, right? He gets the block on Shai at the basket, hits the step back 3, gets the steal on Shai to win it. That to me is, I mean, this is what we want every single night. I think it's unrealistic for us to expect it, probably because 82 games. But there is a little bit of a level of apathy I think we're seeing with this team. They've had so much success the last few years. Do they need to snap out of it, or is this a team that can flip the switch come playoff time?
Well, I do think that there is a level of boredom with this regular season. I've heard not just Anthony Edwards, but so many of the players in that locker room, maybe outside of Rudy Gobert, who will say, this is a long season. We're going to win some. We're going to lose some. They have been to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. It's largely the same team that has done it. I mean, there's definitely, Towns and Randall and Nickeil Alexander-Walker's longer there, but a lot of the core has done it these last 2 years, which means that a lot of them understand that, man, this game in January right now is not really going to kind of change our fortunes one way or the other. What's going to do it is the playoffs. Now, I do think that there needs to be a little more urgency in this last 26 game push. They are in 6th place right now. They're like a game and a half out of 3rd. They want to be in the top 4 for home court. They did not have that last year in the playoffs. They still got to the Western Conference Finals, but I do believe that they have to show a little bit more urgency, like consistently in these last 26 games. They have to really kind of pick it up. And this is a team historically that right around this time of year is when they start to go. Like Chris Finch kind of figures out the rotations. I think a lot of these guys come out refreshed from the All-Star break and feel like, okay, it's go time now, and drop the hammer. They were 17-4 down the stretch last year to really kind of surge out of the play-in and into that 6th seed. And so I think they're going to be looking to try to have a similar type of a push down the stretch here to get maybe the 4th, maybe the 3rd seed, and really position themselves to make their run in the playoffs a little bit, quote unquote, easier. This is the West. Nothing's going to be easy. Mm-hmm. So I expect them to come out with a little bit more maturity here down the stretch. I still think there's going to be games where maybe they don't quite have it, but they know that when the lights really turn on in the playoffs, they have one of the best playoff players in the league. They have a team that's deep and ready to go. And I think they might be leaning on that a little too much, but I do want to see some more focus coming out of this break here.
Speaking of breaks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more. We're going to talk playoffs and Mike Conley. Okay, John, the trade deadline, it wasn't shocking at all that they moved Mike Conley. But the shocking part is that Mike Conley was subsequently moved again, waived, and is coming back to Minnesota. Now, it didn't surprise me that Rudy Gobert's comments were timed for when Mike Conley wasn't there. How much does this team really need Mike Conley as a vibes guy?
Oh man, I mean, he's essential to what they do as a, from a vibes component. I do think at this stage of his career, what he has shown is that physically might, 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 games, he might be able to give you a really solid game at this point. But I think just connectivity wise, just him being in the locker room, there's a calming presence that he has on this group. This is a moody group, Dave. Like, this is one that kind of rides the roller coaster emotionally. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so many of the guys, it's not just Rudy, but when Mike Conley left and they weren't sure if he was going to be able to be back, there was a lot of lamenting to me, kind of like both publicly and privately in the locker room about, man, Mike is always the guy who's able to just pull me aside, tell me the right things to get my head on straight when I'm struggling, when it's not going well, or when we are playing really well. He's kind of the guy that says, hey, stay focused now. Don't lose sight of things. Don't get high on your own supply, that kind of thing. And so I do think getting him back, which I would expect in the next day or two, I think that having him back in that locker room just as a leader, as a voice, as the adult in the room is going to be really big for them. And we'll see what they do on the buyout market. We'll see, if there are other holes they want to fill. But getting Mike Conley's just overall presence back in there is going to be really important for this group.
I immediately thought the Mike Conley thing was great, not only for the vibes, but their point guard situation still isn't great. And right. I think that's the buyout market is, I'm sure, where they're looking to try and fix. But Ayo Dosunmu comes in. You've seen him play a few games, John. Do you think this is a potential fix for their second unit, especially, or is this kind of like a Band-Aid? Like it's good to connect for a little bit, but it's not going to fix it for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think, Zena, that I think he's the perfect fit for what they need. I mean, it would be great if he had maybe a little bit more kind of classic floor general type of a player. He's not that, but there's not that many of those guys left out there. Chris Paul leaving and Mike Conley on the end. Like there's only a few of those guys left. So even before they made the trade, and when I looked at the landscape of possible fits for this group, Ayo was probably my favorite one in terms of he's an incredible energy guy, and on a team that sometimes doesn't have all the greatest energy, he's going to bring that on a nightly basis. He's shooting the ball great right now. He handles it well enough to be able to just give them another outlet. Like they don't have, Chris Paul, they don't have that kind of a guy, but I think that his ability to just be a guy that let's just get it over half court, get us into our set and run. I think he really helps. And so the one question that you do have about Ayo is, can he really do it in the playoffs? He has not had that real experience yet with the Bulls. And so what does his game look like when it comes to playoffs? But in the initial kind of impressions that we've seen of him so far, it looks like a really seamless fit. He has so much energy. He gets out and runs in transition, which
they need that.
They need that.
They need that big time. And yeah, just a really good, solid pro that you can tell, like, the rest of this team is a little bored. Yeah. Guys, Ayo hasn't been there, and he just got out of Chicago's mediocrity jail, and he feels like he's on the other side of this thing. And so there's some real, like, hunger and excitement and desperation in his game that I think is different from the rest of this group. And so I really think that he is going to fit in really well for them, not just for the rest of this regular season, but he's going to be a huge part of what they do in the playoffs.
He's also been getting coached hard by Billy Donovan in Chicago. Yeah. And I bet coming to a place where, I mean, I know that the environment there is competitive, but it's not as basketball psycho as maybe Billy Donovan. And then you are on a team that's good. I think that having a guy like that injected into your locker room midseason, that's going to help the vibes too, right? They're going to come out, they're going to be playing hard, probably a little bit for him. Hey, you need to know, hey, this isn't how, like, what you think isn't how it is. And I think people are sleeping on the Timberwolves, and I keep saying this, and part of it is the standings. They've played around. They've been in the play-in. They're the 6th seed. And you mentioned it. They're only a game and a half back from 3. And this team just wants to get to the playoffs. This is back-to-back conference finalists. They can beat the Denver Nuggets, who is, to me, full health. That's the best team in the league. And they have confidence against them. They probably feel like a finals team. What do you think about this team come playoff time?
Well, I'll tell you guys, like, we had The Athletic had, at the start of the season, it's, make your bold predictions kind of thing. And some of our brethren were like, well, I think this guy might be the 6th man. I think this guy's scoring might go up 3 points this year. Watch out. Real bold, guys. Real bold. I went out on a limb and I said, I think this is the year that they can win the championship. I do. Ooh. Now, I will say that my belief in that kind of wavered, certainly in December, January, during that 5-game losing streak where you're like, is this team really going to come together? But to your point, Dave, you see them. They've beaten Oklahoma City. They've beaten San Antonio. They've beaten Cleveland. They've beaten Boston. They've beaten, when they play the heavyweights, they put on the heavyweight gloves and say, let's go. And so it's a team that, now that you do add Ayo to this mix, I think that they are deep enough, 7-8 deep. You can mix in a 9th man here and there, depending on the matchup. You go, if you need to go big, you go Berenger. If you go smaller, maybe it's Conley or somebody like that. But they're versatile. They have shown the ability to lock in defensively. They're one of 4 teams that's in the top 8 in both offense and defensive efficiency. So all of those things point to them being legit. And I do think that it is a bit maddening to see them kind of have these nights against New Orleans or against Washington or someone where it's just like, it's not there, but they are clearly waiting and biding their time for the real fight to come. And when that bell rings, they're ready. And so, I don't think they're the favorite to come out of the West. They shouldn't be, but I believe that they get into any series against any team in the West, they're going to come out, they're going to go in there believing that they can beat them, and that's because Anthony Edwards makes that possible. And so I wouldn't bet against them is my short answer of a long-winded kind of answer. Part of this is that they can do it. It's just a matter of will they do it.
Imagine you're talking to someone that hasn't watched any part of this season. And they're asking you, Jon, I heard through the grapevine that you said this team, the Minnesota Timberwolves, will be able to win a championship. What would you point to show that this statement is true? Or what would you say, just wait until this game, this matchup, what is it? What would you say will be the proven marker to showcase that the Minnesota Timberwolves are capable of doing this?
Yeah, I think there's 2 things there, Zena. I think one, starting at the top, is that the progression of Anthony Edwards' game from, in clutch situations and in the ability to score at all three levels has just taken a huge leap forward this year. One of the things that bothered this team in the last couple of years is they were really predictable in their clutch time offense, and it usually was, hey, Ant, take a bunch of dribbles, shoot a step back three, and hope it goes in. Now he's scoring in the post. Now he's getting to the elbow. Now he's creating for others. He's also shooting a career high 41% from three. His clutch time true shooting is off the charts compared to everyone else, and so that gives them an element of kind of unstoppableness, if that's a word, sometimes in those moments.
Make it up.
The other part that I think it bodes really well for them is that Jaden McDaniels has made a huge leap as a two-way player this season. He has become a real threat offensively, not just catching and shooting, but off the dribble, in transition, getting to the basket. And him being a 6'10 dude that can put the ball on the floor and rise up and shoot over people just gives them another cheat code that they have not had before. And so he's been so reliable and so efficient as an offensive player that it really does bring another dimension to their team that they had not had, really. And, Julius Randle is a big part of what they do. DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, they have a lot of different elements. But when you look at Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels and the collective leaps that their games have taken, it makes them a formidable kind of opponent, no matter who the matchup is.
Hey, if Ant is your Jordan, Jaden looks much more like a Pippen this season than he has ever before.
He's also shooting over 40% from three, which is
right.
I think it's like unreal. 45 right now.
I'll tell you something else. And a lot of people, again, that 65 game rule is going to come into play with this. Mm-hmm. But if the Wolves get into the top three, you're going to be hearing Anthony Edwards MVP talk, and rightfully. I mean, the season that he's having, the thing that's been holding him back is the wins. They got to win regular season games for him to get it. Jon Krawczynski, big winner in my book. Everybody go and read him at The Athletic. Thank you, Jon, for hanging out. Thanks to Zena Keita, as always, for hanging out. I'm Dave DuFour. This has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for hanging out with us.